Hello YouTube, welcome to the channel of Vortigon Gaming. Let's run some Mythic Plus dungeons in World of Warcraft. Today we'll be watching back a Dawn of the Infinite Murozond's Rise level 20 that I ran as an Arcane Mage. The weekly affixes are Fortified, Storming, and Bursting. I will be doing my best to give a commentary of the dungeon run. If you're into that kind of content, feel free to like the video and subscribe to the channel. So you might be wondering why I'm not doing a live commentary for this run. Well, this is a plus 20. In fact, this was the last plus 20 that I needed to run to get my last teleport for the dungeons. You see, if you complete each dungeon at a level 20, each time you complete one of those dungeons at a level 20, well, I should say the first time that you complete each dungeon, a teleport for that dungeon. And this was the last one on the list that I needed to do. And you know, I felt like if I were to do a live commentary for this run, I might, you know, break my concentration. We might not, you know, time it. That being said, I feel like maybe I could have done a live commentary for this run. This run went fairly smoothly for us overall, and you'll see, you know, how it goes later on in the dungeon. In fact, I even beat the Frogger minigame in this dungeon on the first try, so you have that to look forward to here. But yeah, anyway, I'm doing a... instead of a live commentary, I'm doing an after-run commentary for this VOD review here. And I will still try to keep the live aspect by doing it all in one take, or as much of one take as I can. But yeah, anyway, I did use Lust in the first pull. The tank called for Lust on that first pull of the dungeon right there. That way we'd have Lust up in time for the next time we need it, which if I remember correctly, I pop it again over at the time lost battlefield, but I don't pop it on the boss, I pop it on the tank, like the first ad we pull when you go into that ring with all the Horde and Alliance fighting each other. But given how much time we're going to spend on these ads up front here before the first boss, I'll actually have, you see my time warp, it still has 3 minutes left on the cooldown. It's actually going to be off cooldown, given that I'm going to be hitting Shifting Power, which is one of my spells that reduces the time remaining on my cooldowns by, I think it's like 12 seconds. And so I will be able to get Time Warp back off cooldown by the time we get around to this first boss right here. And once we get around to that first boss right here, I am using the Self-Lust talent. I think it's called, I forgot what it's called, but if you have a temporal displacement debuff or some kind of, basically the debuff that you get from popping Bloodlust, even if you have that on you, you can still use Bloodlust on yourself to get some extra haste and do a little bit more damage. Anyway, we're just finishing up the first ads here. That last pull actually had that giant lizard guy in it. He's a bit of a pain to deal with. If you're not, you know, quick about it. He jumps into that like sand circle, and you can't target him outside of the circle. You have to go in, but the thing is, it does damage to you, and you have to interrupt him. And you know, if you're unlucky and don't interrupt him in time, he might kind of stun you, and you won't be able to do anything for a couple seconds. I think that was maybe the hardest trash pull going into the first boss. So this trash pull is not as bad, even though you did just see the monk die to, I think it was Orb of Radiance. He happened to be standing in the wrong point at the wrong time, I think. He just got unlucky with that. He was also a little bit low in health. Through this whole pull, I have been checking my Mass Shield spell. You can see it down near where I have my Time Warp spell as well. It just came off cooldown actually recently, and I was thinking, you know, if we need it when she pops her Radiant spell that does the group-wide damage, I can use Mass Shield to kind of mitigate some of that damage, but luckily we didn't need it there. Our healer was pretty good for this run, so you'll see that a lot of the utility I use for self-sustain or like group sustain I don't really need to use, since our healer's on top of things. Excuse me. Anyway, you can see my Time Warp has come off cooldown, so I'm going to go ahead and hit it. We're going to go into the first boss fight. Gonna pop a burn. if you don't know how to play Arcane Mage, basically there are two phases to your rotation. There's the burn phase and the conserve phase. The burn phase is what I'm doing right now. You put Radiant Spark on your target. You cast 5 spells on the target, one of them being Arcane Barrage. As the Arcane Barrage is traveling to the target, you pop Touch of the Magi on the target. The idea is that Radiant Spark and Touch of the Magi give a burn window on the target for you to do as much damage as you can. And then once Touch of the Magi drops off, you go into the conserve phase, which is basically use your spells in such a way that you have enough mana for the next burn phase. I won't go into too much detail. You can find guides for Arcane Mage online if you want to learn more about it. But basically, how to time a level 20 is just do the mechanics of the dungeon properly and don't die. Speaking of which, here's the main mechanic for this boss fight. Basically, he puts a shield on himself, goes to the middle of the room, kind of puts a beam on that pillar in the middle of the room, and then balls start floating to the middle of the room, and you have to basically you have to grab them before they hit that middle pillar, or else they'll do raid-wide damage. And then we go back into phase 1. You'll notice he has an energy bar up there. When he did that dividing strike, it took out 25% of the energy bar. This frontal cone also took out another 25%. And once he gets down to 0% on the energy bar, he's going to go back into phase 2, where he does the thing with the pillar and the balls floating to the pillar. I think we do kill him, though, before he gets to that point. But yeah, that's pretty much the whole fight. And we just took him down, so I'm going to go ahead and give myself a slash chair and move on to the next part of the dungeon. Alright, so this pull, I wouldn't say this is a bad pull, but it is something that I, would like to have at least a little bit of my personal utility for. And you'll see that I still have 50 seconds on kind of the group shield. So this is a mechanic that I would use the group shield on when the dragon's doing that group-wide damage. But I don't think we're going to need it for this pull necessarily. Maybe we'll see it on the next pull. The next pull has 2 dragons, kind of like the one we're facing right now. And also, I don't have to worry about burning any cooldowns here, since we are going into the Frogger mini-game after this. And so, by the time we all beat the Frogger mini-game, all my cooldowns should be back up anyway. Alright. And you know what? I won't even talk for this part. You can just sit back and watch my greatest achievement of the season right here. And how about that? I didn't get hit once, didn't get sent back to the start. I could just stop playing until season 4, but I'm probably not. I'm probably gonna, keep pushing, see how high I can get on the current season. See if I can get past like 21, 22, maybe even to 23s. Anyway, the shaman here has stated that we don't have lust yet. In fact, we have, it looks like, about 80 seconds on the debuff before the debuff comes off. So we will be going to the time lost battlefield for the next boss fight, since lust will definitely be ready for us by the time we get there. And actually, before we go into that boss fight, you'll be able to see what the tank is going to do in this next room, since the tank is actually pretty smart. He set the next room up in such a way that kind of optimizes the pathing for this dungeon, since this dungeon kind of does have a little awkward pathing, since you do have to go through portals, you have to take like flight paths and whatnot. And so, the tank here set it up in a way that we can easily move from one room to the other without worrying about ads. Anyway, we are going into this room. I don't think this room is too big of a deal, or it wasn't really that big of a deal. The only thing I worry about in this room is how far I'm standing away from, you know, whatever trash I'm facing, since when I do a barrage, sometimes I also fling an orb out, and if the orb travels too far, it might hit some of the other ads in this room and pull them in, and that might not be, you know, a good thing if the tank is not out looking to pull more ads than the ones he's already doing right now. Anyway, that's the first dragon dude down. Every time one of these dragon guys falls, he's going to drop one of those little tethers on the ground. And actually, you'll see over the course of, you know, what we do here in this room that the tank here is actually going to pull these dragon ads to where he wants them to fall, and then when they fall, we're going to have a tether network that actually allows for easy movement between the portals that we need to go to. So right now we're heading over to the portal that's going to take us to the Time Lost Battlefield, which is our next boss. This guy is about to fall in a couple seconds, and you'll see that the tether drops right near that portal that we need to go to. But we're not going to go into it yet. We're actually going to take some time to clear some more mobs to get our percentage up, and we're also going to clear them in such a way that we actually have a tether, this portal that we're standing at right here, to the portal on the other side of the room that's going to take us to Morchie when we need to fight her for the third boss fight of this dungeon. Okay, so he's picking up like the half health ads right now. Now he picks up the dragon dude. He's going to take that dragon dude nearer to that portal that we're looking at right now. And so the tether is going to go from the Time Lost Battlefield portal to the Morchie portal. Also, you should make sure to interrupt, you know, as much of his casting as you can, since it does do a bit of damage. I think the shaman actually died to one of those. Alright. And I'm pretty sure he pulls one more dragon guy. Okay, the floor is now cleared. So we don't have to worry about walking in sand when we need to go back to that portal for Morchie. Then he's going to pull one more dragon guy. He's going to drop them right near this portal right here. And then after we kill this guy, we're going to actually head through the portal. And, well, we have one more pack of ads to deal with before we get to the next boss room. But we're pretty much done in this room. And this is most of the... these are most of the trash mobs that we're actually going to clear for this dungeon, so we're actually almost done with the trash mobs as well. I also think I forgot to repair my gear from an earlier run of something. Anyway. There's not too much about these trash mobs. Just make sure you kick their beam attack. I think the one I'm targeting is the one that can't be stunned using what I just did, which was Dragon's Breath, which is an AoE stun. But it doesn't matter too much since, well, they're all dead.
The Horde and Alliance are fighting?
And, you know, a pack of 3 isn't really big enough that you have to worry about the bursting. I hear ask when they want lust. I'm not sure if they want it on the boss or on this tank. Or on this ad, I should say this tank right now that we're about to fight. Shaman called for it on this ad right here, so I went ahead and popped as well, went into a burn. Luckily I had my burn ingredients up and ready. And, oh, I didn't get targeted with this volatile mortar. I think I got targeted with the next one though. Right? These ads are popping out of the tank. We do want to make sure we cleave them down right away, or else they're going to run after our teammates and maybe blow up in their faces and kill them, and we don't want that. It's not going to be too big of a deal though, since this ad is pretty much down, and then we're going to go into the next ad of this fight, which is the pack of 3.
Lieutenants, get out there.
It is an alliance week, so we get the alliance. Or well, I don't know if it's like a weekly rotation, but we got the alliance ads for this dungeon run. So the guy I'm targeting is going to hit me with that concentrate, that golden pool of stuff on the ground. So you want to walk out of that, or else it's going to do damage to you. And I don't know if these count as ads and they're buffed by Fortified, or if they count as part of the boss fight, but either way, this is not really the hard part of this boss fight. And it is a Fortified week, so this boss isn't going to be too difficult this week. It is still a bit of an issue though, since there are a lot of ads that you technically can't target, but you can, and so if you use tab targeting, it might take you a while to get to the target you actually want to fight. And so this is a boss fight where setting a focus like I have here is a pretty helpful thing to do. Okay, so he's targeting me with the Blade Storm. I'm gonna have to run away from him, and hopefully, you know, not kill too many of these ads in the process of doing that. We also, I'm talking about the friendly ads, the golden ads that you see fighting on the battlefield right now. We do want to kill the ads that spawn, since if we don't deal with those, they're going to be doing a lot of damage to us, and they could maybe even wipe our team, and then we have to go through this boss fight again, and that wouldn't be good. Luckily, it looks like our team is on top of the ads, or the mechanics where we have to deal, you know, with the ads. And this boss is almost down, so we should be able to get through this in the next maybe like minute, like 30 seconds maybe, if I remember this part correctly. It should only take you know, a few more seconds to get this boss fight down. I think I do mess up my rotation, since he targets someone with Blade Storm. He targets me with Blade Storm, and I was in the middle of starting my burn to burn him down, and so I had to kind of stop myself from doing damage and run away. But it doesn't matter, since we did take him down. So, you know, I go ahead and give myself a slash here, move on to the next part of the dungeon. Now, normally a lot of teams would keep going this way, but since we cleared that room before this one the way we did, we can actually run back and go the other way to Morchie. And it saves a lot of time, since going the way we did, maybe we accidentally pull one of those floating snake mobs on the way to the next portal, and then we have to run over a long catwalk to the next portal, and then we have to deal with another mob. Whereas this way, you know, I just took the tether from one portal to another, and now I'm already here flying to the next boss room, which is going to be Morchie. Also, I do have invis, and there's a way to skip the next ad, which you'll see in about 3 seconds. I'm not confident enough to walk along this railing though, but you can walk along this railing and avoid the ad here. I wanted to play it safe though, so I popped my stealth and walked right by, and luckily that ad doesn't have any kind of stealth sight or anything. I think the monk, yeah, the monk somehow fell behind. The monk somehow fell behind, and they don't have invis pot where it's on cooldown or something, so we do have to wait a little bit for him. We have to wait like 10 seconds for him to get by. But there's not going to be any shadow pulls today. Oh yeah, also his ring doesn't work in knocking the guy out of the way. So we're gonna have to wait for him to run along the run along the edge right there. Yeah, but once he's done that, now everyone's ready to go into the next boss fight. I also have Time Warp off cooldown, so I'm looking to use that in this boss fight, but not right now, since Morchie is going to go into her mechanic More Problems, where she turns into many copies of herself, around the room, one of which doesn't have a hat on, and we have to run to that one so that we don't get hit by a blast cone or anything. And then once we do that mechanic, then she's going to be in this form for a while, so I think why not pop you know, Time Warp here, go into a burn. And I think my game froze here, that's why you just saw like a visual freeze there. So she puts down time traps. The thing with the time traps is I dodge the time traps and I stand right next to one. And so when she does her mechanic Familiar Faces, I can blink right across the to the other side of the time trap, and then my doppelganger will run right into the time trap, and I won't have to deal with that mechanic for at least another minute. More problems is happening again. We're going to look for the Morchie with no hat on. There she is. We run over to sidestep the blast cone. And she's low enough. I'm pretty sure we burn her down before she does more problems again. I also make sure to know where my doppelganger got trapped, so that way I can put a time trap between my doppelganger and me, so that way the next time she uses the cast Familial Faces, or Familiar Faces I should say, my doppelganger will run right into the next time trap and I won't have to deal with that. Also, Mass Shield is a good utility spell to save for Familiar Faces, since every time the doppelganger runs into a time trap it does group-wide damage. But we're not going to need it since we are going to take Morchie down right here, give ourselves a slash cheer, and move on to the last part of the dungeon. And it so happens that 94% is enough trash percentage to skip this next pack right here and go right to kind of the end room. So we'll go ahead and pop stealth here, sneak by this pack. I think someone gets stuck behind. They have to wait for, you know, the pack to move out of the way. But even if they don't, I think it's the DK that suggests it right here. Yeah, the DK says that we can go through the portal and leave him behind, because the thing is that if he dies right here, but we go through the portal, or we go through all the portals that we need to go through, we're going to open up a new respawn point, and so that whoever dies, if they die during, trying to get by that pack, when they respawn, they'll be where they need to be, and we won't have to wait for them for a while. So in a sense, it's kind of like a death skip right here. We also have 13 minutes left in the dungeon, so we have more than enough time, like 5 seconds, from a single death isn't going to be that big of a deal when it comes to timing this dungeon. This next pack, though, is a bit iffy, though, I will say. It's got one of those dragons with the, I think it's called Infinite Fury, where it does the group-wide damage, and then it has two of the dragon soldiers. I forgot what they're called, though.
Murozond shall rise.
There's this Timeline Marauder and Infinite Slayer. Yeah, so this one, my idea was to target the one with the skull on it and focus it down as quickly as I could. Also interrupting the, or I should say kicking this cast right here, so that, the two Marauders don't get a shield or anything. I do have my group shield available. It's called Mass Shield, so if I need it while the Slayer's casting Infinite Fury, I can pop it like there. Maybe didn't need it for that one, since we do have the dome right here coming out from the, I think that's the DK. I'm not sure. I literally only play Arcane Mage. I don't know what any of the other classes do. But that's proof that you don't actually need to know how to play this game in order to run level 20s, in Mythic Plus. So if any of you were looking for, some good content to run without being good at the game, this is it right here. And this is also it for this dungeon, since we are going into the last boss room right now. We do have to wait for a little bit of roleplay. Which is kind of like you know, in the context of Mythic Dungeon, role plays the scripted scenes in between certain parts of the dungeon that are unavoidable. And usually you should treat those when you're running these dungeons as part of the timer. So whatever time they give you for, you know, completing the dungeon and getting a key upgrade, that factors in the amount of roleplay that's in the dungeon. So you should always, you know, think about that when you're running these dungeons. Anyway, here we are going into the last boss fight. I actually forgot to talk with my team to coordinate who's doing the ball mechanic. Luckily, we kind of figure it out right here. I see him standing on the ball mechanic, I move out of the way. If you're not standing under the ball, it drops quicker. But you don't want them to drop at the same time, because you'll see each time it drops you get a debuff on you, and that debuff stacks, so you want to make sure that you coordinate it so only one of them dropping at a time. The shaman's pretty much dealing with it for the most part, so I've chosen to you know, move out of the way first, and then he moves out of the way next, and that works pretty well. There are going to be some issues later. But also later I realized that, you know, when I move out of the way, I should also move into a position so that if the shaman accidentally moves out of the way before he's ready, I can move in and kind of take care of things and make sure nothing, you know, bad happens. Right. I'm also saving hero for part 2, since part 2 is where we're going to be directly attacking the boss. I don't want to waste, you know, my cooldowns on just these ads, right? I will use one burn here, though. I maybe shouldn't have used it, since I won't have my I won't actually have my cooldowns ready when phase 2 happens. And I kind of realized that as I was doing it. Luckily, I do have shifting power up and ready to go, so I use shifting power to get some of my cooldowns back, so I have them ready for the for this upcoming burn right here. It does throw off my groove a little bit, but it's not too big of a deal. We're almost done with this boss fight anyway. As long as everything goes smoothly, we you know, we'll be able to clear this dungeon with more than enough time to spare, which we do. Because, you know, I don't know if you've been looking at the time on this video, but there's only like, I don't know, maybe a minute or 2 left, but there are 8 minutes on the clock for the dungeon, so, you know, barring something catastrophic. Also, I'm doing a commentary after the fact, so I already know how this goes. But yeah, we're going to time this dungeon with quite a bit of time to spare. This is the part where it's important to coordinate the golden ball droppings, since those swirlies come out as the ball drops are happening. So if you don't coordinate them properly, you could get into trouble. But we don't have to worry about that, since he is going to drop in about 3 seconds here. And that's going to do it for Dawn of the Infinite Murozond's Rise. We have a cutscene here, but we can skip that. And so yeah, we'll go ahead and give ourselves a slash cheer. Thank everyone for a clean run, and even for 2-starring the dungeon. And of course we are an Arcane Mage, so the common courtesy is to give everyone a portal back to the main hub of the expansion. And that's going to about do it here for this video, so if you liked what you saw here, feel free to like the video and subscribe to the channel. If you want to see me run any other dungeons during Dragonflight Mythic Plus Season 3, let me know in a comment down below which dungeon you'd like to see me run. Hopefully I can get around to posting a lot of that. Anyway, that's going to about do it for me here, so I hope you all had fun watching, and I will see you all later.